Well, welcome to Wednesday. It is, how cold is it?
I look like a giant fly from outer space.
I'm married to the fly. We're talking about Goetia this morning.
It's 35.
Come not in that form.
It's 35 degrees out, and I'm getting ready to go to Trader Joe's on the bicycle because poor Carla has a minor ailment, we hope. Anyway,
So you're on your bicycle
I'm
to
going
Trader
on the
Joe?
bike, yeah, because it's better than limping there.
Yeah. Well, anyway,
So anyway, that's it.
be careful. Be careful.
Oh, no. Oh yes, honey. All right.
If you-
Lon wanted me to do this because he thinks all my domestic things are cute. Oh, look, she's hanging clothes on the frozen clothesline.
Look, Constance, look. Jump.
Yeah, we go boogie further. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Have
Well,
a good day, all of you. I know it's cold where you are too.
yes.
Probably.
Yeah. Was there ice on the bird bath this morning?
No, but that was odd because there was ice on my nose, I think, when I woke up. But
Okay. Well, anyway, the title of today's talk is Deceased Old Friends and Demons.
you're kidding, right?
No.
I don't know any demons, but I have lots of deceased old friends.
Yes.
Well,
More all the time.
well, we never really die.
No.
Just like the sun, we stay on.
We've always just lived with ghosts. Okay. Oh, speaking of ghosts. That is a sort of goofy drawing of a demon horse, Orobas. Now, I didn't draw this. This was drawn by David P. Wilson, who later published under the nom de plume of S. Jason Black. And it is in a book, and he has all 72 spirits of the Goetia, or his versions of them. And they're very, I like them. They're very comic book kind of drawings. But what makes them kind of unusual is, if I'm not mistaken, in his while he was alive, David at one time or another evoked all 72 of the spirits, and he was an artist and rendered his impressions of what they look. Now this is Prince Orobas, okay, and I've evoked Orobas early in my magical career, and it's been a faithful spirit to me all my life, actually. His decand is assigned to the Two of Swords, or Peace. September 23rd through October 2nd. He's the night spirit. 55th spirit is Orobas. He is a great and mighty prince, appearing first like a horse, but after the command of the exorcist, he puts on the image of a man. His office is to discover all things past, present, and to come, and to give dignities and prelacies, and the favor of friends and foes. He gives, what does he give here? Answers of divinity and of the creation of the world. He is very faithful unto the exorcist, and will not allow him to be tempted of any spirit. That's his seal, okay? 33 years ago, I co-authored 4 books with Christopher S. Hyatt, whose name is Dr. Alan Miller, PhD. And we wrote the Enochian World of Aleister Crowley. We wrote, it was called at the time, The Way of the Secret Lover, Aleister Crowley's Illustrated Goetia, and Taboo. And over the years, they've sort of changed titles. But I had quite a contribution to this book, and our friend David Wilson, we asked to do the illustrations. It is still in print and is published by 2 publishers, both of which are very fine publishers. And I would encourage you to buy both. Okay, one publisher is The Original Falcon Press, and the other publisher is New Falcon Publications. So both the book is in print under both of those publishers. And I'm going to share just the little history section. Now remember, I'm writing this 33 years ago. And quite a bit of magical water has gone under the bridge in those 33 years. But it might be at least amusing for you to hear a much younger Lon Milo DuQuette giving his history of the Goetia as a little introduction. Also, I had to be mindful that I was co-authoring this, and perhaps I might not have been as at liberty to be as frank and as opinionated as I was. So, nevertheless, Dr. Hyatt and myself, I believe, we're a good and magic couple, and we wrote 4 books in 2 years. And if it hadn't been for his encouragement and his advice, I probably never would have even considered taking up a career in writing. So, here's what I said. I quote from the Talmud at the very beginning. If the eye could see the demons that people the universe, existence would be impossible. That's Barakot 6 of the Talmud. The format of Goetic evocation contains perhaps the most colorful and recognizable elements of any type of Western ceremonial magic. The magician, robed and armed, stands inside the magic circle, protected from the malice of the spirits by the innumerable holy names scrawled thereupon. Several feet away stands the spirit trapped in the triangle of art. With his wand upraised, the magician issues his commands, and the spirit reluctantly obeys. This is the stuff of sword and sorcerer movies. Yet it's precisely the method, and it's come down to us in the most extraordinary way. 16th and 17th century Europe abounded with a myriad of practitioners of the magical arts who, for the most part, were inspired by the colorful images of Middle Eastern magic. We must keep in mind that for many years, much of the Iberian Peninsula was occupied by the Muslims. Ironically, even though Islamic law dictates strict prescriptions against unorthodox spiritual practices, the occupation forces tolerated a handful of Spanish communities where a certain level of spiritual freedom flourished. These pockets of liberality attracted not only the innovative practitioners of the black arts, but also the Jewish Kabbalists, whose wisdom was for the first time committed to writing. This period was to profoundly influence the Renaissance and subsequently the entire Hermetic traditions of Western civilization. It is from this tradition that the concept of solomonic magic was developed. Spirits trapped in bottles, magic carpets, great treasures protected by demons, all reminiscent of 1001 Arabian Nights. The text has become known as, and I should have said one of many texts was known as, the Goetia. The Goetia is the first book of what is commonly referred to as the Lemegeton, a collection of 5 texts traditionally attributed to King Solomon. The most popular versions, including the one Crowley hired S.L. McGregor Mathers to translate, were drawn primarily from translations of Sloane manuscripts numbers 2731 and 3648 in the possession of the British Library. Few individuals today are so naive as to believe that the author was indeed the legendary King Solomon. Indeed, there was no evidence to demonstrate that the 5 texts are even the work of a single author, or that the authors were even practicing magicians. In fact, the very nature of the translations, by the very nature, it's obvious that the scribe or scribes were decidedly hostile toward the art. Many of the spirits are clearly gods and goddesses of older religions who were banished to the infernal regions by the new order. Many of the dukes, especially, seem to have been originally female in character, a most dangerous spiritual idea to lonely monastic scribes prone to fantasies. Magic books attributed to King Solomon circulated throughout Europe since at least the middle of the 16th century. Sloane 2731 dates from 1687, and most likely is the result of one practitioner's desire to have his favorite Solomonic works bound conveniently into one volume. It also appears that he used the opportunity to update the texts by revising the language and using the vernacular of the day. As archaic as the language appears to us today, the Lemegeton represents the new, improved 17th century version of far older material. How old? We can't say. The magical revival of the late 1800s resulted in new translations of the Lemegeton and the Goetia emerged from near complete obscurity and into the light of relative obscurity. And students and practitioners of the occult have been tantalized by its mysteries ever since. Modern editions of the Goetia remain in print and continue to sell very well. Almost every student of magic worth his or her salt owns at least one copy. Yet relatively few individuals actually have participated in a Goetic evocation. The reasons are many, but perhaps the single most compelling excuse is rooted in the mistaken belief that in order to succeed in evocation, one must conform exactly with the procedures and conjurations outlined in the text. The seemingly endless pages of tedious, archaic, parochial conjurations and constraints, exorcisms and curses continue to bewilder and discourage 99% of would-be goetic magicians. And that is precisely what they're meant to do. Under the little heading theory, the universe was very simple from the traditional goetic magician's point of view. Above him was God, the creator of the world and the ultimate source of his authority. Below the magician was an infernal world, inhabited by demon spirits who were once angels of the Lord, but now exiled from heaven as punishment for their pride and disobedience. Their fall established an interdependent threefold world in which we find ourselves: heaven, earth, and hell. Like the Titans of Greek mythology, the infernal spirits, not God, are responsible for the maintenance of the material world, including the earthly, fleshly nature of man. As a resident of the earth, the magician stands between the divine and the infernal worlds. If he is pious before the eyes of his God, then he has the divine authority to order and control the lower spirits. To achieve this authoritative state, the magicians of old recited lengthy litanies of affirmations and self-aggrandizement, itemizing their high morals and examples of their religious piety. You obeyed Moses. You obeyed Aaron. You'll obey me too. Once he had convinced himself that he had the authority to command the spirit, the magician next had to achieve the subjective state of mind where he could actually see it. This he induced by the use of magical words, which he recited much like a mantra. In this way, he created a strange and mystic atmosphere in which nothing was impossible and anything could happen. Do that enough and you'll induce an altered state of consciousness. And I think the neighbors just experienced an altered state of consciousness. Standing in the circle, protected by the divine names with which he had aligned himself, the magician, pumped up by affirmations and intoxicated by magic words, concentrated upon the triangle until the spirit appeared. The universally holy virtues of all things triune was enough to trap the spirit into the triangle, long enough to receive the charge from the magician. After receiving his orders, the spirit was given license to depart, to go forth and do the magician's bidding. The text of the Goetia is filled with the details of such operations. Page after page of formal conjurations, constraints, invocations, curses, greater curses, addresses to the spirit on his arrival and departure. And finally, under the heading Practice. There exist today Goetic magicians, both solitary practitioners and organized groups, who operate strictly by the book. The circle, the triangle, and all the diagrams are constructed exactly as illustrated in the Goetia. They recite, or most often read, the conjurations, constraints, and curses exactly as written in the 1687 text. Ceremonies of some of these magicians are a thrill to behold, and without a doubt the art will forever be perpetuated in its classic form because of their dedicated labor. And personally, I'll refer you all to the work of the great living Goetia practitioner, Carol Polk Runyon, and you can see examples of his most dramatic, colorful, and quite efficacious ceremonies on the magic of Solomon. Just and Polk's an old friend of the family too, and wonderful high degree Freemason too. It must be pointed out, however, that there is absolutely no necessity nor particular advantage to blindly conforming with the conjuration scripts of the ancient texts. This is Lon and Dr. Hyatt putting our 2 cents worth in here. The spirits are no more impressed if you say thee and thine than they are if you say you and yours. Aleister Crowley was aware of this and crafted several versions of his own conjurations. In fact, we shall see later, in his own copy of the Goetia, he simply hand-copied the second key of the Enochian system, in the angelic language. The Gita, okay. It is our opinion, and that of other Crowley experts, that for personal Goetic conjurations, Crowley most likely in his latter years discarded the traditional conjurations and simply recited the first and second Enochian calls in the angelic language. It is also our opinion that the most effective conjurations are those of the magician's own designs. We encourage the reader, once the fundamentals of the system are thoroughly grasped, to create your own conjuration, which, like your temple equipment and procedures, are uniquely yours. Okay, that's that. This is an old version. I believe this is the new Falcon edition, but the original Falcon edition is also a lovely, lovely edition too. Now, we were going to use my version of the Devil card from the Tarot of Ceremonial Magic, which was had, I think, yet to be published by U.S. Games, but Christopher Hyatt didn't like it. He said my version was too crude, so he had David Wilson, okay, redo my design there on the front. And let's see if we can go through a couple of the. Oh well, no, I better not do that. But there's some wonderful, wonderful images there by David Wilson. This is my favorite, AIM. Anyway, David's absolutely wonderful. We miss him very much. He was quite a Goetic practitioner himself. And we miss him. Anyway, until tomorrow, continue to be good to yourself, be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. love is the law, love under will.